unsanctioned.
I will attack!
Unauthorized.
Get that stupid camera out of my face.
And unbelievable.
He's gotta be 15 to 18 feet in the air.
It's WCW Uncensored. There are no rules.
Put the boot to you, yeah!
So anything goes.
He enjoys pain. Coming at you! What are they gonna do? There are no rules anymore as far as I'm concerned. Get that camera out of here. I'm waiting for you, pal! Do you believe this?
Live from Tupelo, Mississippi, this is WCW Uncensored.
Well, everybody, this episode of the Squared Circle Time Machine is unauthorized, unsanctioned, and most importantly, uncensored. I'm your host, Greg Diener, and with me, as always, is Dane Wojcik. Dane, we are actually recording this literally like 5 or 10 minutes after Elimination Chamber just ended.
Oh, yes, we definitely are. And speaking of uncensored, I think we probably had the first ever uncensored F-bomb dropped on any WWE television at the end there.
Yeah, I think it is. How the hell are they going to go from here after Mania? Because I don't know how this is going to play out.
That is a good question, because how are we going to have corporate sellout Cena be on a farewell retirement tour, unless he's going to have the belt for a few of those months and then Cody gets it back somehow, or if Cody somehow overcomes the odds, where does he go from there now? But that kind of now makes sense with a little bit of what Dwayne was saying, well, that I don't necessarily need the belt to feud with Cody. I'll get his soul one way or another.
I'm going to bore the audience one way or another with 30-minute long drawn-out promos that make no sense. Because my best friend Brian can't write his way out of a wet paper bag, and he's stuck in 1999 like Vince Russo.
Maybe we got, because apparently Vince Russo said he is going to quit reviewing and watching anything WWE related by the end of this year. So please don't threaten us with a good time, Vince.
Oh, please, Vince. I don't want that. But to pay tribute tonight to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn having an unsanctioned match, we're going to pay tribute because this month is the 30th anniversary of a pay-per-view that was unauthorized, unsanctioned, and most importantly, uncensored.
And nothing really. Well, I'll talk more about that, because there was a funny thing, I think, said by Michael Buffer during the main event, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah. Now, Dane, I have to ask you, when you were a kid and you found out that WCW was having a pay-per-view that was called Uncensored, and they were advertising this, what were you thinking about?
If I was, well, you see, unfortunately, I didn't get into WCW until about 97, so we already had the NWO. But I'm sure in 95, if I heard of a wrestling pay-per-view called Uncensored, I would have been like, holy shit, this is right up my alley. What's going to happen? Like, blood is everywhere and
all kinds of shit.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Now, I was thinking as a kid that this was kind of like their answer to UFC. Well, kind of, if you remember, early UFC was advertised as like, oh man, there's no rules. Anything goes here.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, are they going to have like it like UFC style? Is it going to be like them fighting in an octagon or something? I don't know.
Well, Uncensored walked, so Raw Underground and later on NXT Underground could somehow find its way and meander its way through things.
Oh man, Raw Underground, probably one of the greatest things Shane McMahon ever gave us during the pandemic. Well, we got to mention that this pay-per-view took place in Tupelo, Mississippi, the birthplace of Elvis Presley. Oh,
And what a tribute to the King's memory is this pay-per-view.
now I need to mention on the pre-show, because Dane, I sent you the Daily Motion link to the pre-show to this.
Yes.
We had, okay, first of all, I forgot that there was a time where Steve Austin was a putt from Colonel Parker. So apparently, like, Austin was facing like Tim Horner or something, and Colonel Parker just randomly came back, and it was like, okay, I guess they're back together. I didn't know they were apart from one another, so.
Oh, yes, Tim Horner, that goofball.
But as we know, that alliance, the realliance, as you will, with Colonel Parker doesn't last long, because I think soon after Austin gets fired.
Yeah, because I think this is towards the end of his contract with WCW, and I guess that makes sense, because I think I heard somewhere that's, well, and then the commentary that in between, because as I told you, I had to find, speaking of Daily Motion, I had to find a copy of Uncensored on Daily Motion, and it happened to be on through a German free-to-air TV station.
A German TV station had the only available copy that wasn't on Peacock.
That is correct. It was dubbed in German, as well as it had even ads for an upcoming German WCW tour that played random songs from the Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Camp.
Oh, man, we could do an entire show about the Wrestling Boot Band album. Especially the, well, obviously Hulkster in Heaven, but I do want to talk about Beach Patrol, because I do find that the best worst song from the album.
Yeah.
Oh, let me go over the other two matches on main event. Alex Wright defeated Mark Starr, and Alex Wright, of course, did some dancing.
Yeah, because I think at the end I heard the German people talking about Alex Wright too at the end. So I'm sure they were happy to see Das Wonder Kid get to W.
And then Stars and Stripes of Marcus Alexander Bagwell and the Patriot beat Dick Slater and Bunkhouse Buck.
I forgot about Stars and Stripes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, how would you rank the tag team partners for Buff Bagwell? Okay, you have Scorpio, you have Patriot, and you have Scotty Riggs.
In terms of workability, I would go Scorpio, Riggs, and actually, no, I'll go Scorpio, probably the way it was. Scorpio, Patriot, and Riggs.
I will go Patriot, Scorpio, and Riggs.
Okay.
Because I did like Stars and Stripes as a team. I kind of like the contrast of the masked guy and the unmasked guy.
Yeah. Well, we still have a little ill will towards the Patriot from his feud with Bret Hart here in '97. So
that 28 years. Probably,
yep.
28 years and you still haven't gotten over it. But then again, these days I don't blame you. But enough said about that.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, before the pay-per-view starts. Now, Dane, the Hulkster was advertising something for this pay-per-view. He was advertising an ultimate surprise.
Okay, I need to ask probably a serious question here. Was WCW actually thinking they were going to get the Ultimate Warrior in for this part? Or was he really still highballing them with this ridiculous contract and bands before he decided to go back to Vince in early '96?
I'm thinking they were trying to F with people, but I don't know. I mean, I would have to go look at some old observers or torches at that time, but I don't think they were. Although television, the way they said Ultimate Surprise, they made you think it was going to be Warrior.
Warrior, or maybe it would have been the Playmate of the Month.
Oh, yeah, it would finally pay off what Gene wanted for the gobbledygooker angle.
Yeah, instead of a gobbledygooker, it would have been whoever it was for the March 1995 Playmate of the Month.
Oh, now I got to look up 1995 Playmate of the Month. Now I have to look it up here on Wikipedia. Okay, list of Playboy Playmates 1995. I never thought I'd be searching the 1995 Playboy Playmates. Okay, let me see. March. Stacy Sanchez. Who the hell is that?
I don't know.
Oh, fun fact. She also became the German edition's Playmate of the Month for June of 1996.
Oh, good for her.
Well, enough about that.
Yeah.
The Hulkster has an ultimate surprise who's not the Ultimate Warrior. And we'll find out about that when we get to the main event.
Oh, yes.
But I want to read to you, Dane, this disclaimer that played at the top of the show. The program you're about to see is the first in World Championship Wrestling. The following pay-per-view event, Uncensored, has been established due to the many grudges and differences which have developed between wrestlers over the past few months. With this in mind, WCW Board of Governors has the following statement. Every match at Uncensored will occur without the sanction of the WCW Board. The following matches have been agreed upon by all involved and will be held solely to settle any personal disputes. Get ready for a professional wrestling event like none other. It's now time for WCW Unauthorized, Unsanctioned, and Uncensored.
Wow, that is quite the... Are we sure that AI didn't exist back in 95 and that wasn't just generated by some random AI bot?
I assure you, it was written by somebody in Turner Broadcasting. I don't know who would have been writing that.
Yeah, that's...
Sure as hell wasn't Eric.
No.
Okay. So we have, for our show, Tony and Bobby doing the announcing and doing the backstage interviews. Mike Tenay for some reason?
Yeah, where was Mean Gene in all of this?
Yeah, he might have been sick or something. Or maybe he was like planning like a big scoop for the hotline.
Yeah. Although I think they too said that Tenay was going to be getting backstage comments for the hotline too.
Yeah, and you know something? Mike said if you call the hotline, the first minute is going to be free.
Well, that's just typical WCW business, because we would find out later on they would do a Bash at the Beach 95 with allegedly 100,000 people and didn't charge them a cent to go attend that.
Yeah, I remember as a kid when Tony said there was 100,000 at Bash at the Beach 95, I was like, bullshit. There's not 100,000 at Bash at the Beach. I watched WrestleMania 3. That doesn't look anything like the crowd there. Dane, I don't know how the rest of the show is going to top this match. But here we go. The King of the Road match between Dustin Rhodes and the Blacktop Bully. Now, Dane, can you describe what the King of the Road match is?
It seems to be a match itself that goes through various stages of time, as you got a semi-truck pulling a flatbed that also has a very loosely established cage on top of the, setting up a wall along the flatbed. And inside the flatbed, you also have a whole bunch of squares, either hay or straw bales. And then you have two people inside said apparatus fighting each other while this truck is moving, while the sun seems to be setting in one scene and then fully up and sunny and bright the midday next scene, and then back to dusk again. And it almost seems like this match wasn't live at all.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like when Matt Cardona would be doing like his fantasy booking for like the FWF. Do you remember when he was doing that with Hawkins?
I vaguely remember it.
Okay, he had like a Bash at the Beach match with the floating WCW Bash at the Beach ring. I think it was between Hogan and Austin. And so when The Undertaker did his run-in, Cardona would say,
Sting is going to behead him with that slam force sword. He's going to behead him when all of a sudden the sun goes out again. The sun goes out. The sun comes back on. The sun comes back on. It stops. Here is one. Undertaker. Undertaker and Sting. A sword and axe fight. A sword and axe fight. But the sun goes out again. The sun goes out again. The sun comes back on. They have disappeared. They have disappeared.
The sun sets. The sun then rises again. And then the sun sets again. Something like that. That's what made me think of whenever I saw like all those shots of like the sun going down and then back up.
Yeah. And probably with good reason why they had to edit this match, because very unfortunate shenanigans between the future Goldust and the former Repo Man.
Yeah. Can we describe like the history of the Blacktop Bully for those who don't know?
Please do, because I'm lost and confused about why was he a Blacktop bully? Why are you bullying people on blacktops?
Okay, so apparently, he would show up like the way the Blacktop Bully was introduced. He was like a heckler that would be in the crowd, like insulting the baby faces.
Okay.
And so I guess Colonel Parker hired him and signed him up because I think he was talking some shit with Dustin Rhodes. And this was like in the middle of like the feud with Dustin and the Stud Stable.
Okay, that would make sense.
So it makes sense why Colonel Parker would be involved with the Blacktop Bully. So this was a King of the Road match to settle their feud. And I kind of enjoyed the fact that they were going like through, like, I'm guessing this was like some rural area somewhere in Atlanta, because this was clearly not Mississippi. But I did like there was this one part where like they were passing through some trailer parks, and Bobby said, "Oh, it's a beautiful shot of downtown Tupelo right here." All right, so they blade. That's the whole big thing of this match is they bled, and I guess like Mike Graham was in charge of this match. I guess he thought it was a good idea to have them blade.
As you would for a slowly moving semi-truck pulling a little trailer down roads. That makes sense. We need a little color for this match. Unfortunately, that was a big no-no with the WCW upper management.
Let me read Scott's thing here of this match. Seriously, the editing is so bizarre that it looks like someone gave David Lynch the mixing board and said, make it ridiculous and make it incomprehensible. Look, now it's day. Look, now it's night. Look, now it's day again. I keep waiting for Laura Palmer to be revealed as the driver, but it never comes. Dustin's shirt disappears, then reappears again, then disappears again. The quote-unquote match drags on and on. They battle up top, and Dustin falls off, allowing Bowie to pull the horn for the win at 13:06. That must have been thrilling for the live crowd. -3 stars.
Only -3.
Yeah. But for pure entertainment, Dane, I think this was 5 stars.
Oh, yes. 5 stars. 5-star entertainment. If only afterwards what would become of both men.
Dustin would go on to be Gold Dust, and then the Blacktop Bully would end up becoming maybe like one of my all-time favorite pun names of all time, Payne Stewart.
Payne Stewart, yes. I thought they only did that for a couple times because the actual golfer that was the pun on was actually passed away, and then he was just simply Mr. Hole-in-One Barry Darsow.
Yeah, Hole-in-One Darsow, when the Payne Stewart, spelled Payne, tragically passed away. Yeah. Well, at least it's better pun than whatever they would have given him for Tiger Woods, I guess. Hole-in-One Darsow. Do you remember there was like this one thing on like Worldwide where like Barry Darsow kept like coming out like each week to like his old gimmicks?
Oh, yes, I remember. That was pretty much in the dying days of Worldwide, because I remember actually seeing him come out one day as Crusher Khrushchev.
And then he came back as Blacktop Bully. Ugh.
Thankfully, the Monday Night Wars was pretty much over, because it would have been funny to have seen him try to bring back Repo Man or Demolition Smash.
Well, they did, because remember Repo Man was in the Gimmick Battle Royal at Mania 17?
Yes.
My favorite line from the Gimmick Battle Royal is Gene saying, "The Repo Man, last week you repoed my mother-in-law." And Bobby's like, "Yeah, about 5 years ago, everybody repossessed your mother-in-law."
Oh.
Now our second match for this show. We have a martial arts match between Ming and Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Because when I think martial arts, I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, you know what? This is kind of like early UFC in a way, because this is how early UFC was. Like, let's get a trained martial artist against a wrestler and see how they do. Except Hacksaw Duggan is no Ken Shamrock or Dan Severn.
No.
So Ming had been the bodyguard for Colonel Parker. And I guess at some point, I think Nick Bockwinkel said, "No, Ming, you can't be like a bodyguard doing all this crap and beating on wrestlers." And so Colonel Parker's like, "I got a great idea. I'll make Ming a wrestler." And so he did.
And you know what? That was actually one of my favorite looks with Ming coming out here in this match before he got the giant boar head during his Dungeon of Doom run.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell was up with that.
I mean, he was dressed like some kind of Polynesian ninja, basically.
Whenever I think of Ming in the Dungeon of Doom, all I can think of is that Phantom of the Opera promo, the Hulkster cut, where he asked Macho Man, "Bring me the head of Ming on a silver platter." On a set that looked like a third grader's production of Phantom of the Opera.
Yes.
But we have the low-key debut of someone who would be a big personality in WCW later that year.
Yes, Sonny Ono as the special referee for this match.
Yes. And my favorite part is when he's introduced by Gary Michael Capetta. Bobby's like, "Didn't he sing with Cher?" And Jody's like, "No, that was Sonny Bono."
Oh, no.
So, like, Sonny Ono's trying to get both of them to bow. And Hacksaw is like, "No way, I'm not bowing. I'm not going after you."
Okay, here we go.
What the hell, huh?
Wait a minute.
What are you talking? Get off my back! Get off my back!
What Hacksaw Jim Duggan has to do here is toe the line and has to bow to his opponent and to the referee.
He's supposed to bow in a martial arts. I ain't bowing to nobody. I ain't bowing to you. I ain't bowing to that.
You're going to be bowing in a couple of minutes when that man there gets his hands on you, Duggan.
Duggan. And the referee Sonny Ono not letting this match begin until the Formalities are met here.
It's a shame, isn't it, Tony? That Tupelo, Mississippi is not part of the USA.
Now they need to bow to the referee. And Duggan wants no part of this.
It's custom. Nobody, no way.
Now, was that a bow? Now, he agreed to this martial arts match.
Sure, he don't know any better. He's a dummy.
I'm like, Jim, just bow. Like, how hard is this gonna be?
Oh, Jim sandbagging an opponent in the ring? That's unheard of in 95 to 99 WCW.
This goes on for like 5 minutes, like them arguing about, no way, I'm not bowing, USA. You know, I got to give Hacksaw credit. He knew how to stall his time, and whenever he would say USA, everyone would chant it.
Of course.
All right, so then that finally happens. Hacksaw finally takes a bow. There's like no disqualifications.
Mm-hmm.
They highlight this so much. They keep, I guess, beating the shit out of each other. And Duggan tries to go for a 3-point stance, and Ming hits him with a super kick. And that's your match.
Yeah. Yep.
Really nothing special. I think the stalling was the highlight of this match.
Yeah.
And Sonny Ono.
Yes. Although I think this match, going back to the German TV version of it, it was brutally Bridget going back and forth between showing joined in progress action up from the King of the Road match. So it's really made it. I don't know if that they did it as well on like the main commercial release there or on the Peacock version there.
No, the Peacock version is exactly like the pay-per-view version. I can't speak for when it was released on VHS by Turner on that version.
Yeah. Okay. So that just even added more to the disjointedness and confusion for me for that match. So, yeah.
So next we got a boxer versus a wrestler match between Arn Anderson, the current WCW TV champion, and the former TV champion, Johnny B. Bad. Now, this is not for the title. So this is a boxer versus a wrestler. Now, Johnny B. Bad, in real life, was a Golden Gloves champion. And so Arn cuts this promo about, I'm a wrestler, and I'm a real wrestler, and that's the true sport, not less boxing crap.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Flying Arn Anderson in that big old Mercedes as usual. Well, the stress that's involved with being the world television champion, I just thought I need a stress reliever. So went down to Boomer Shine GMC, got me this little toy. A little while I'm gonna go tear that mountain up.
Arn Anderson, a man who knows what he's doing. The Enforcer, a very appropriate name.
Just got a destructive nature. That's just the way I am. I'm telling you right now, I'll do whatever it takes, no matter how dirty it's perceived, to hang on to the world television title. I've built one heck of a career, ended other people's careers. You want to jump on me? You got to go to the hospital. If you go, so what? That's the name of the game.
As only you can do, my friend.
I'm a wrestler. That's what I do. And I do it better than anybody else. That fine line between pain and pleasure is what gives me my edge. If I want to break somebody's neck to save that title, that's what I'll do. What I do bell to bell is just wrestle better than anybody else. Want to be a champion, you got to earn it. And that means getting hurt. I've stomped, I've kicked a lot of mud holes in the backside of a lot of opponents. Burn my face into your memory. It's going to be there long as I want it to be. The ring is my home. When I'm in the ring, I'm the master of it, and anybody else that's in there with me. I'm Arn Anderson, World Television Champion. Be that way as long as I want it to be. You heard it here first from the champ.
And he's doing this promo in like what seems to be like some random construction site somewhere. I don't know why they chose this spot for Orton to do a promo in.
Probably to show the grittiness of a wrestler compared to a fancy boxer man.
I'm guessing this is like supposed to be 10 rounds.
Yeah, that's what they advertised as 10 rounds max. I'm guessing they were going to go by decision or something because the boxer had to win the match by knocking his opponent out or whatever. The wrestler had to win by pinfall or submission.
Yeah. There's no judges for this. It's like going back by past WCW matches, they don't have like Ken Osmond's number on a Rolodex to call him up.
Mm-hmm.
Or Jason Hervey. Eric couldn't call his buddy Jason Hervey up to do a judge spot for this?
Nope, I guess not.
Okay, so let me read Scott's review here. Round 1, Johnny stays back and jabs a lot. Orton is overwhelmed. Round 2, Orton goes for the takedown, but gets jaw jacked. He gets a quick takedown, but ends up on his back again for another 8 count. Johnny's pretty stiff in there. Down again, another standing 8. If this were sanctioned, this would be over, but it's uncensored, baby. Tony astutely points that out. Orton jumps bad during the rest period and DDTs him, and it really picks up. He dumps him over the top to begin round 3. Now, if Inoki had tried that against Ali, he might have won. Orton cheats like nuts and beats the crap out of him, spinebuster, but Johnny's trainer jumps on his back. Bad fights back, but Colonel Parker lays in some shots. Johnny's trainer cuts off Bad's glove during the rest period. Round 4, Orton threatens the trainer, so he puts the water bucket over Orton's head, and Johnny KOs him at 33 seconds of the 4th round. Big pop for it. This is definitely in the guilty pleasure category for me. So don't go giving me shit over this one. 3 stars.
The last bit there was probably the more entertaining part of it of that whole match, and the fact that Johnny B. Bad seemed to be like one of the few over gimmicks there in WCW at that time as well too. It helped.
So now we go into our next match as the Macho Man Randy Savage takes on Avalanche John Tenta in a no disqualification match. Remember that, Dane. It's a no disqualification match.
I will,
because it's uncensored, Dane. You can't have a disqualification in a uncensored match. It's uncensored.
Yeah. Unsanctioned, yes, that would be ridiculous.
So, okay. Do you want to explain what happens in this match?
Well, it ends up being kind of like your typical John Tenta match where he overpowers the opponent for a bit, and due to his size and girth, Savage makes a bit of a heroic comeback, and then all of a sudden we have what appears to be a very homely looking woman coming into the ring and interfering on old Avalanche's behalf.
Oh, wow. A woman has come into the crowd? Wow. Man. This shows how uncensored this is. A random woman can show up and beat the crap out of the Macho Man.
Yes. But
wait a minute. Wait a minute, Dane.
That's no lady.
That's not a lady. Oh, it's Ric Flair in drag? Well, I gotta admit, Ric Flair makes one sexy drag queen. I did not expect to say that, but yeah.
Yes.
Now, hold on, Dean. I just thought of something. Could you imagine if RuPaul's Drag Race had existed in 1995?
Oh, we could have had Ric Flair on there. We could have had Goldust, especially after his very infamous appearance on Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
Yes, because I don't know if I found that or you found that, but that was just... If you have not seen Goldust on Conan, it is probably the best 6 minutes you'll ever see. And I guess fitting with Conan hosting the Oscars this weekend.
Yes. we find out that Savage has won the match by
What?
disqualification.
Wait a minute, Dane. They said it was a no disqualification match.
That's impossible.
Oh, wait. I figured it out, Dane. It's uncensored.
It's uncensored, unsanctioned,
Yeah,
unauthorized.
Unauthorized. You can do anything you want. It's like Calvin Ball. You can do anything you want. It's basically how the Supreme Court does their decisions now in 2025.
It's the scoring system from whose line is it anyways? The points don't matter in the end.
Now our next match is Sting against Big Bubba Rogers. Now, let's go back a little bit. 2 months earlier at the Clash of the Champions, the Big Boss Man had turned heel because at this point he was the Guardian Angel, right?
Yes.
Because Nick Bockwinkel took the name The Boss away from the Big Boss Man. I don't get that.
Yeah.
So a commissioner has the power to take a name from somebody.
Probably via the way of a cease and desist letter from Titan Sports.
Sure. And so, for some reason, Curtis Suila and the Guardian Angels like take him up, and he becomes a Guardian Angel. But then, so he's the guest referee, Guardian Angel, for Sting against Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
But then I guess he's giving Sting some shit,
Yeah.
and I guess that's enough to make him turn heel.
I guess, well, because I think Sting was giving shit back, so it was like, respect my authority, and Sting's like, nah, and so. But I think we got a bit of a headcanon that's Ray Trailer, whether he's been Big Boss Man or Guardian Angel or the Boss. Man, he's big. He's always been evil.
Yeah, just ask Nails.
Yes. Hashtag Nails was right in one instance.
Yeah, we'll find out more about that in 4 years when he freaking makes Al Snow eat his dog.
Yeah.
Let me read the review here from Scott. Sting manhandles Bubba to start, slamming him easily and countering all of his offense. Eventually leapfrogs Bubba, buggering his knee on the landing. Bubba works the knee, ho-hum. Sting is pretty much dead. Tony starts reeling off a canonical list of Sting's knee injuries, complete with dates, times, opponents, doctor's visit, the approximate area of the knee injured. And now he can't even remember that Lenny Lane used to be the cruiserweight champion. Oh yeah, this review from Scott is so old. It mentions WrestleLine at the start.
Oh, yes.
But oh man, yeah, mentioning that about Tony. Yeah, it took a long while for Tony to get rehabilitated in the eyes of the IWC.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's been one of the good things about AEW is it's kind of made people remember, oh yeah, Tony's a good announcer.
Yeah.
Okay. Sting makes the comeback, limping the whole time. Press slam and a sleeper broken with a tie-assisted jawbreaker. Sting pulls out a vicious release German suplex. Bubba takes it like a man. And the flying splash for 2. The knee is still gimpy, and Bubba clips him. Blind charge misses, and Sting goes for a slam. But the knee collapses, and Bubba gets the clean pin at 13:39. Not entirely worthless, thus proving Sting was a miracle worker.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this today for some odd reason. Kind of like a sliding doors thing. What if, instead of Lex Luger going to the WWF after the World Bodybuilding Federation fell apart between the narcissist gimmick and then Vince doing the whole Made in the USA stuff, what if Sting actually came over to the WWF during that period in time?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm listening on one of my podcast apps. I have the PW Torch Daily Cast, and they have like a series of podcasts going back to the 90s, like This Week in history and the torture or whatever. And around this time, Sting was considering jumping to the WWF. So that would have been something if Sting had jumped in 95. It certainly would have made the roster a lot different.
Yeah.
But I would think if you put him in WWF in 95, you'd have to turn somebody on the babyface side heel, and I'm thinking maybe you turn Razor and you have a bunch of Sting Razor matches in 95.
Yeah.
That would work.
Yeah.
So Scott gave this 2 stars. Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that's
yeah. So it was an all right. I mean, but just a plain straight up match on something that's unsanctioned, unauthorized.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Because up to this point, every match has had some kind of wacky stipulation or something at stake. We had boxer versus wrestler, we had the martial arts, and then we had King of the Road. So we now know Blacktop Bully is the King of the Road, and we now know that a boxer can be the wrestler if you put a bucket on his head and knock him around. Coming up to possibly the highlight of the night.
Oh, it definitely is the highlight of the night, in my opinion. We have a Texas Tornado match between Harlem Heat, the reigning WCW Tag Team Champions, against the Nasty Boys. So this is a Texas Tornado match, Dane. Anything goes. Falls count anywhere.
And I had to track. Actually, had to find this match separately on YouTube as the German feed or the German television station decided to edit this match out completely to keep into a 2-hour time slot. So something had to go. And a pretty decent promo from Sherry and Booker and Stevie Ray that's didn't necessarily have Booker T calling out Hulk Hogan being a gamer word.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't that promo.
Nope.
Oh. Now, I did love that this is anything goes here. So it's they can go anywhere. So where do they go, Dane?
They eventually make their way to what looks like Ghoul's Fairgrounds concession stand line.
But there's no people and there's nobody guarding the concession stand.
Well, it is unsanctioned and unauthorized. You don't want to have people signing off on all kinds of waivers. That's all of a sudden if Knobs and Sag get hungry and they want to come and raid the snack bar.
Oh, yeah, it would be their fault. So, yeah, it's uncensored, so you can't do anything about that. So, yeah, I can understand why. So, we have this concession stand. It's kind of like how whenever you go to a movie theater, there's that concession stand that's never open.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like that. It's the concession stand in the arena that's not open. But for some reason, there's food in there. So we got cotton candy, we got ketchup, we got mustard, we got funnel cakes, and they're having a food fight. And this is supposed to be a tribute to an actual Tupelo concession stand brawl from the 1970s.
Yeah.
So it's WCW being we're going to do our own version of that with blackjack and hookers. Except it's so funny and terrible.
Yeah.
Everybody's slipping and sliding. Even Sherry's joining in and she's slipping and sliding.
God bless Sherry.
Yeah. But the concession stand, it's so totaled. And I'm guessing somehow Brian Knobbs gets the pin on Booker T, but I don't think the camera crew caught the pin.
No, I think they totally whiffed it.
You know, my favorite part of this match was Brian Knobbs takes a slide and Bobby says Knobbs could be a replacement player with that type of slide. Because remember, this is around the time of the baseball strike, so the replacement players are still going. So I think it would be soon afterwards, right after this pay-per-view, that the strike would finally end. So -2 stars from Scott.
Understandable, because that was just a mess. Literally and figuratively a mess.
Okay, so we got our main event here. The Hulkster, the reigning WCW champion, against Vader in a strap match. But it's not for the title, Dane.
Ugh.
Remember, it's uncensored, so it's like WCW can't have this title on the line in a strap match at this pay-per-view. Nick Bockwinkel wouldn't allow that.
I only defend my titles in sanctioned matches, brother. Although we do get Michael Buffer doing the main event intro as was the style of the time in WCW. And he mentions that this match has been sanctioned by WCW and its booking committee or whatever.
I guess he didn't get the memo.
No. And then he also introduces Hogan as the king of Hulkamania.
All right, so Vader's accompanied with Ric Flair in just some pretty ass mascara from dressing in drag earlier. There's like that classic promo between Vader and Flair backstage, and Flair's still in his drag makeup.
Joining me at this time, the 450-pound...
Shut up, punk! Hogan! The time is before you! The demon stands before you! The fear is here! The fear is there! Hogan! There's no place else to run! There's nowhere else to hide! It is time to get it on! You must now pay for your stupidity! It is uncensored, unsanctioned, and Mr. Flair is in my corner! Between the two of us, there's an unprecedented 23 world titles! Hogan, get ready to get it on. Get ready to play the pain game. It's over. The talk is over. Hulkamania is over. And it's Vader time.
I think it goes like this. You don't like it? Do something about it. You see this? Not just another pretty face, but the face of a man possessed. Possessed with you, Hogan. My whole career, they said Hulk Hogan's bigger. They said he's better. They said you can't beat him. Get out of here today. They said you can't beat him. And I said, bring him on, let me touch him. Then Hogan, you take me out of my element. You take me out of my life. You retire me. Am I gonna walk off into the sunset? Say goodbye forever? No! I become the master plan. I become the man possessed with taking you out of this sport forever. Okay. So what do? I get the biggest.
Hogan, after Super Brawl 5, the whole world saw who the man is, and you're looking at him. And after tonight, brother, they will know who the uncrowned heavyweight champion of the world is. Vader time, Flair time, uncensored, unsanctioned. Tune in, brother, because it's live and in color.
Hogan, we're coming your way. Woo! Woo!
Was this also around the time that Flair was, quote unquote, retired by Hogan and he's just hanging around now just because?
Yeah.
And then this is around the same time that they filmed that one episode of Baywatch where Rick is like the evil land developer. He's like shutting down the community center or something to build condos.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. He somehow became a property owner while retired.
Well, we also would find out about a few years later with Vader and Wrestling in the Shadows that Vader himself too is a real estate, in real life, a real estate agent of some sort.
Oh, wow. Wonder if that was brought up on Boy Meets World whenever he appeared.
But that still doesn't explain why all of a sudden Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan was with them on the beach there in his Taskmaster gimmick and was also billed as the Taskmaster on the credits.
Well, he is the devil, Dane. Could you imagine like a modern day version of this in WWE? Like somehow The Rock is like an evil property developer.
I almost was thinking that's where we were going, that The Rock has decided to become Lex Luthor and decide that he's going to sink half of California down at the fault line so he can have oceanside properties.
Well, at the rate everything's going, Dane, I bet it's going to happen sooner or later with him.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. The ultimate surprise. I forgot.
Oh, yes. The ultimate surprise.
The ultimate surprise is that some guy named the Renegade, but it's not Lorenzo Lamas.
No, I was disappointed in learning that that was not Lorenzo Lamas as the Renegade coming out.
It's Timu Ultimate Warrior.
Fair play to him. He at least got down a bit of Jim Hellwig's spastic behaviors, at least. Although he looked like a total goober with a painted R over his right eye.
Yeah, he looked like Pete the Pup from the Little Rascals with that getup.
That, or I was also thinking about, I think it was the time in TNA when Samoa Joe got kidnapped by ninjas, and then he all of a sudden comes back with this really shit-looking tribal tattoo over his eye.
Did we ever find out what the ninjas were?
No, I don't think we did.
As you know, I've been watching some of 2010 TNA. I got to the ninjas storyline because I remember, like, as I mentioned, like, I remember Spoonie's TNA reviews back in the day. And I remember him going nuts about this. Like,
But he was abducted by ninjas! Ninjas! Call the cops! There are ninjas kidnapping people on TV! The cops! Did no one get a license plate? Ninjas! Kidnapping! TV!
but yeah, we didn't get an explanation as to what happened with the ninjas.
Yes. All we know got that. I think afterwards we just got all of a sudden, because I think that's also, Joe was feuding also with the Main Event Mafia at the time, so we got kind of like a closing promo shot episode of Impact was just Joe revealing his face and the tattoo. Main Event Mafia, meet the new Samoa Joe. Anyways, back to this. And of course, it's also the stupid rule for the strap match that I despise. The touch all four corners.
Yeah, and you know what's so sad, Dane? This is not the Yapapai Indian strap match.
Oh, yes, I forgot about, no.
There's no Yapapai Indian strap, so it's like we won't have Yapapai Indian strap rules.
Yeah.
It's not for another 5 years.
Not for another 5 years, and at least 3 of the many components of this match are a part of that, from this match and into the Yapapai. Because we also had the thrilling pre-show storyline of someone's kidnapped Jimmy Hart. Oh, wait, he escaped somehow. And he's now here in the Hulkster's corner with the Renegade, who's just spazzing out and scaring Ric Flair for some discernible reason.
Yeah, it would have been funny like to see Ric Flair and Vader like have Jimmy tied and gagged or something.
Yeah. As we get to see later on for another big reveal / surprise.
Oh, yes, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
So here's Scott's review of the match. I feel my IQ lowering by the second. At any rate, Hogan chokes and bites Vader to start. He whips Vader and Flair. Flair runs away from Renegade like an idiot. God bless Flair for being willing to put anyone over. There's no ref because it's uncensored, baby. Vader takes over and hits the Vader bomb. Renegade yells a lot. They brawl outside and Hogan delivers some fancy-ass chair shots. The camera goes wide for all of them, which is good because kids might watch and start doing those pussy chair shots at home and school and get beat up for being a wuss as a result. Back in the ring, and Hogan comes back as it becomes rapidly apparent that Vader no longer has any interest in this match.
Yes. I just,
Vader is like, enough of this shit. I don't care.
Rightfully so that people say that the WWF ruined Vader. I think WCW, more so Hogan, ruined Vader's mystique in the US.
Yeah, he's like, I have Japan gigs to work. I can't do this.
That giant elephant mask doesn't pay for itself here.
Okay, Hogan drags Vader around to three corners outside. Back in, Vader gets a chokeslam. Hogan no-sells a devastating vertical assault suplex and does the usual. He gets 3 turnbuckles, but yet another masked man attacks Renegade. Oh no, the masked man from before is back, and it's not, for some reason, Brother Brutai.
Nope.
Vader misses a splash, so Flair shatters the balsa wood chair of death over Hogan. Hogan hulks up, and okay, Dane, he ties Ric Flair with the strap. And
by this time, Vader's like, "Fuck this shit. I'm out." He's like, seemed to have disappeared somewhere around the ringside area there. Like he's just giving up on life. Maybe Corey and Sean from Boy Meets World can help him find his way again.
I think Sean right now is busy helping Buddy Hackett and Soupy Sales to that great takeout business in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Speaking of which, I'm surprised we didn't have them appear as well back in January when NXT had their big show at the old ECW arena, and we had the modern day gangsters of Tony D'Angelo meeting the FBI, the full-blooded Italians of Nunzio, and it would have been nice to have seen Buddy Hackett and Soupy Sales as well to come and saying that they need their share to cut too.
I figure you do a good takeout business.
Good takeout business.
Yeah, we do a good takeout business. Takeout business.
Yeah, that great takeout business.
Yep.
I can only imagine. I bet you Paul went to that takeout business in Philadelphia that they ran all the time.
Yeah.
Him and like Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, Taz, all the ECW regulars probably went to that great takeout business.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so needless to say, Hogan ties Ric Flair up, drags him to all 4 corners, and wins. And why is that, Dane? Why did they give him the win?
Because it's unsanctioned, unauthorized, uncensored.
It's uncensored, so it's like, who gives a shit if Vader wasn't the one in the strap? He dragged the guy to all 4 corners, so that's good enough.
That's good enough.
But okay, meanwhile, we still have the situation with the masked man to figure out. So
Yes.
the masked man is in the ring with Hogan and Renegade. And then
And he's standing right, yeah, because you got Hogan and Renegade on one side, and you got the Masked Man, Vader, and Flair on the other. And then all of a sudden, we see Arn Anderson coming out from the backstage area, bound and gagged and tied up and hopping around. Like he just got pranked by some local fraternity house. So who is that Masked Man?
oh, it's Randy Savage.
They pulled a sneaky on them.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and that's another thing I've always found interesting with WCW Savage is why he was willing again to play second banana to Hogan after all their tumultuous relationship in the WWF.
You know what? I think in storyline, it's been like, what, 6 years? It's kind of like,
Yeah,
I'm over this now.
yeah. But I guess, but on kayfabe, I mean, like, if you believe the one story that's from around WrestleMania 9, that's, I guess, where him and Hogan had a spat about Elizabeth's living situation, and Savage decked Hogan in the eye, and that was supposedly the story of why Hogan had that big shiner on his eye at WrestleMania 9, which I think the kayfabe reason was that DiBiase paid some hired goons to work over Hogan, and I think the company line was that he was in a parasailing accident, which was just kind of ill time because he was teaming with good old Brutus, who's coming back from his own parasailing accident injuries.
Yeah, I don't get why they made that the excuse. It was a parasailing accident.
Yeah.
Maybe like he fell on like some steps or something would have been more believable.
Yeah.
What did we think about this show?
We kind of talked about nostalgia and stuff, and kind of good nostalgia and bad nostalgia. This was kind of mid nostalgia. It wasn't the booking itself, like the main event really was just a huge insult, I thought.
Yeah, but okay, Dane, here's what you got to remember with me. I am 10 years old going on 11 in 2 months. I don't know any of the backstage shit. I don't know any of that. So it's like, I couldn't care less. I'm like, okay, Hogan wins. Like,
Hogan wins. Yay.
Yay. I don't care about, oh, this looks bad, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't care less. And then years later, I'm like, people are bitching, and I read people saying, oh, this was so terrible because of this and this. And I'm like, well, yeah.
If anything, but I think the '96 version is a lot worse than this.
Yeah, I mean, the '96 version is worse because it's like, at this point, it's like Hogan's act is so outdated by '96.
Yeah.
It's like, it really needed the NWO.
See, at least around this time, it was still kind of fresh for at least WCW eyes. And like I said, I never got into WCW until 96, 97, because I wasn't really accessible for me here on my peasant vision television out here in the country of Canada. Because the only other way you could have got WCW programming is if you had satellite or cable in the cities, and you got TBS. So we were just pretty much subjected to just WWF superstars at the time.
Wait, you didn't have Stampede too?
Well, we had Stampede as well, but
of course you need your Ed Whalen.
We need our Ed Whalen, and then we need Bruce Hart and the West Edmonton Mauler and So Damn Insane.
Principal Richard Pound.
Yes.
Now, I think you mentioned to me, Dane, before the show that Ed Whalen probably would have been very disgusted with doing this.
Yes, he was very famous for ending matches right off, telling the camera crews to stop filming matches that got way too out of whack.
Oh, yeah, because he would have just, when the Concession Stand Brawl was coming on, he would have been like George C. Scott yelling, "Turn it off!
Turn it off!" Yeah, he actually famously quit for a while. He actually quit because things got too crazy. Because I forget who the other three they were facing, but on one team you had Bad News Allen, you had Archie the Stomper, and then you had Archie the Stomper's kayfabe son wrestling against someone. Somewhere in this match, because Bruce's idea was to build a match between Archie the Stomper and Bad News Allen, the kind of like the evil face of Stampede Wrestling from the 60s and 70s versus the current evil face of Stampede Wrestling here in the 80s. And at one point, miscommunication among the heels saw Bad News Allen break Archie's son's collarbone. And mayhem and melee began in the ring. And actually, even like Ed Whalen, he quit that night doing Stampede Wrestling commentary. And even they lost their wrestling license in Calgary, and they had to have the big blow-off feud match between Bad News Allen and Archie the Stomper on some Indian reservation about half an hour south of Calgary. I gotta see if it's still on YouTube or not. There was a very excellent promo section between Archie the Stomper and Bad News Allen to hype up this big match happening on the Sarcee Indian Reserve. And you have Archie the Stomper looking like he just came off a 12-hour long haul through the Canadian prairies, and then on the other side, you have Bad News Allen look like he's ready to go out to Studio 54 and party with Alice Cooper and Gene Stapleton.
Alice Cooper, Gene, I can only imagine Gene Stapleton doing an 8-hole coke going, ah, gee, I'm gonna start this cocaine. That's the most random two people I can picture in Studio 54. Alice Cooper and Gene Stapleton. So, what I learned about this pay-per-view is, like, don't blade in a match that's taped. That's what I didn't understand about the whole King of the Road thing. They got in trouble for blading in a taped match.
It looked like, from at least what I saw from the German version, like it looked like that they did their best to hide whatever result from the blade job was, because all those camera shots seemed to be behind, like Dustin and Blacktop Bully. There wasn't any evidence of. So what? Like, they had the master tapes for this and saw them blade and like, nah, get out of here, both of yous.
Oh my God, Dane, you're not going to believe this. I'm on Cage Match. Do you want to know what Dave gave the main event?
Uh-oh.
He gave the main event. Are you ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready for this.
3.5 stars. He did not give this negative 3.5 stars. He gave this a positive 3.5 stars.
And this is 1995, Dave, before his Tokyo Dome bias really starts taking over his brain.
Yeah, you know, if this was at the Tokyo Dome, he would have given this like 20 stars.
Place Flair with Kenny Omega and Renegade with Will Ospreay, and then we can have the Young Bucks in there for no apparent reason.
Oh, you know, this was Kenny against Will Ospreay. He would have just, oh, forget it.
It'd be like that one scene from South Park with Randy looking all
with the
covered in the white goo.
It's like,
maybe Oscar had a point with the people from Cage Match, that their opinions mean nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, definitely. Why Tony should freaking book to cater them. The sickos.
And the sickos. Although I'm pretty sure Michael Cole called Kevin Owens a sicko tonight many few times during their match. I'm now expecting a few clickbait fodder from the bottom feeder third sheets. Kevin Owens is going all elite, despite signing a new contract extension, and is probably one of the few people that's got probably a job for life and is probably angling for his son to get a job there too eventually.
You know what's hilarious? Okay, Dane. Technically in kayfabe, Kevin Owens' son is named Owen Owens.
Yes.
It's so hilarious that I really want that to be his name. NXT, if he ever becomes a wrestler.
Probably the greatest the big old double O.
The big old double O, Owen Owens.
Yeah.
Well, this was something else. But I will say, the 1996 pay-per-view of Uncensored somehow manages to top this. It's batshit insanery.
Yes.
But we'll cover that on another day.
Of course we will. I need to talk about the Ultimate Solution and Z Gangsta.
Z Gangsta. What a fucking stupid ass name WCW came up with to try to avoid getting sued. He's the gangsta. Okay, for our next episode, well, Dane, we're going to take a look at a wrestler, but it's going to be not a usual look at a wrestler's career. We're going to go take a deep dive into one wrestler's descent into madness.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
The madness of Mr. Backlund.
Yes. Mr. Bob Backlund. And I have crafted a theory that goes back to 1982, pinpointing the origin of when he snapped and what led him down the path to him snapping for good and becoming the maniac that we know him as.
And love him as.
Yes. And let's face it, if Bob Backlund didn't snap, we never would have had the Bob Backlund system in the PCS.
Exactly. Nor would we have had actually Bob Backlund showing up in TNA to talk about the Bob Backlund system in the PCS.
Yeah. And we also wouldn't have had Kevin Nash talking about the time him and Backlund wrestled in front of 25,000 people at MSG.
Yes. They got that many in that one night.
Yeah, I'm sure they were using whatever Zane Breslov's wacky numbering system was for the Silver Dome in 87.
Unless there was a lot of overhang from the theater there at Madison Square, and I don't know how close the Manhattan Center and the Hammerstein Ballroom is to MSG.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe about a mile and a half away. So
yeah.
Well, that was WCW Uncensored 1995. So that'll do it for this edition of the Squared Circle Time Machine. And we'll see you back for episode 5 on our next visit through time in the time machine. We'll see you then.
Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the WWF Intercontinental Champion, Goldust, with his director, Marlena. Welcome, Marlena. Nice to see you. Yes. Maria. Nice to see you. Yes. That's it's very nice. Hi there. How are you? Okay. All right. Have a seat right there. So, Goldust, how are you?
Is that an extra microphone in your pants, or you just happy to see me?
It's actually a microphone. Now, is it, don't do that. Is it Gold or Mr. Dust? Help me out here. What exactly, what do I...
Mr. Barbarian, you can call me anything that you like. Just don't call me late for foreplay.
So, I actually did some reading on you, Goldust, and you claim that you're the best actor in the world, which is true. That's a claim you've made. It's in your bio. Tell me, what are your credentials?
Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. Sunset Boulevard, 1950.
Extreme close-up, please.
My training comes from a deep, dark, dirty place. A place I like to refer to as my back lot. And maybe you, Mr. Barbarian, would like to stick your head inside and take a good, long look around.
Andy, how you doing over there? You all right, Andy?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are you doing later tonight, Andy? You going to a movie or something with the wife?
No, I think Goldust and I are going to go out and...
All right. Tell me, what movies have you starred in, Goldust?
There's just too many to mention. But my greatest epic of all comes March 31st. WrestleMania 12 on pay-per-view. When I meet one naughty, naughty boy named President Piper.
That was the weirdest plug I've seen in 3 years on the air, Goldust. I have to tell you. And I've seen a lot of them. Now, you mentioned Roddy Piper, another wrestler, correct? Is that right, Andy? You're the wrestling aficionado. Another wrestler.
Yeah, he's the president of the Federation.
The president of the Federation. That's why you call him the president. All right. Andy Richter, everybody, wrestling aficionado. Now... Now, Roddy Piper says that you use homophobia to throw off your opponents and that it's all a mind game. Now, tell us about that.
Mind games? Oh, no. Let me tell you about mind games. You sit there with your milky white skin, turning red with lust for one Goldust. As a matter of fact, I'm getting a little bit warm myself. Would you mind if I undressed myself?
I think there are rules that I think that the FCC has, Television is our window to the world, ladies and gentlemen. Time, maybe security, a little security in here, actually, would be nice. These are my security people right here, all right?
What?
You gotta...
You're bigger.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
You know what? Speaking of going, I think maybe good a time as any to go to a commercial. What do you say? Everybody, this was Goldust. This is director Marlena. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
And